Hi there, this is Matt with State of Flux, and I wanted to make a remembrance video. Somebody very important to me passed away this week, and I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge and honor him because he very much is one of the three individuals most responsible for turning me into a cinephile because he himself was. This is my Uncle Todd. Todd, who had a pretty rough life for pretty much my entire existence, passed away earlier this week, and I just felt the need to pay respects to him. It's really the people that surround you in your life that kind of mold who you are, and he was really one of the ones that kind of shaped me and helped shape my interests, and we discovered we had this mutual bond. And he, when looking back on it, really was instrumental in some of my biggest, what my dad calls manias of interest that I have in all of like cinema. And so I just thought I'd share a couple stories. My earliest movie memory is for a movie that at the time when I was watching these like fragmented scenes, I didn't know what the name of that movie was. At the time, I was a big fan of Ghostbusters. This is when I would have been about 2 to 3 years old. And I was a big fan of Ghostbusters. My favorite part of Ghostbusters wasn't like any of the Ghostbusters themselves. I really liked Sigourney Weaver. So there was a new movie on HBO when I was visiting my uncle in Arizona. And so he showed me Sigourney Weaver's new movie. And my dad found out about that and got incredibly upset that he showed me this movie, but I had no idea what the title of that film was. And color me shocked, about 5 years later, when I was 8 years old and I was watching Fox on local television, and they had an edited down version of James Cameron's Aliens. My uncle showed me the uncut, raw, R-rated movie at age 2 to 3. That being said, there were fragments of the film. It wasn't something that scared me. It was something that visually intrigued me. And most of those fragments that I still carry with me to this day are the Queen like stepping off of the dropship and the getting sucked out of the airlock. Basically, the end of the film. When I was watching this movie, my family was asleep, and I just had Fox Saturday morning in the daytime, and they were running an old movie, they were running Aliens. When it got to the back half of the film, I had this strong sense that I'd seen this movie before, but I couldn't have possibly seen it before because I was 8 years old and this is the first time I'm watching it. And I felt kind of taboo watching an alien movie, but it was edited for television, so I figured it'd be okay. My dad was asleep. He does not like horror films, and he had a strong aversion to the original Alien. He saw that theatrically. Not only did he not like it, he thought it was pretty disturbing. So when he woke up during the middle of this movie, he was like, no, we gotta change this, we gotta turn this off. But then he himself kind of got sucked into it because Aliens is just that good. And then when I got to the end and saw the Queen stepping off of the dropship, it all came back, and I realized that this was the movie my uncle had shown me years prior. And Aliens, to this day, remains one of my top 10 favorite feature films. And so I have, in a weird way, my uncle to thank for that. Another couple of things was the first two movies I saw in theaters, I saw with my mother, and that was Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I've talked about this in the past on the channel. That being said, the next two movies I saw in theaters, I saw in Arizona with my uncle and my grandma. And that was Home Alone and Edward Scissorhands. And I have strong memories of Home Alone. The only thing I remember from being in that theater, sitting about midway back, on my uncle's lap watching Home Alone because I was too short sitting in the seat to be able to see above the seat in front of me, was this scene with the spider, because my uncle, this very same trip, Todd showed me on HBO once more a movie I probably shouldn't have been watching, Arachnophobia. And to this day, the only horror movie I've never been able to make it through. I have not seen it since 1990. The like little fragments of the film that I did see, the first like half hour, were absolutely traumatizing, and I think is the reason that to this day I'm petrified of spiders. But Home Alone, all I really remember from seeing that at the theater are the scenes of the spider and stuff like that. Edward Scissorhands I remember bits and pieces of in the theater, but I remember more spending time with him after we got out of the theater. And that was a solo visit. He and I saw that one alone. Home Alone I saw with my grandma. But Todd and I, afterwards, we went to the grocery store and we picked out some sweets and stuff, which was pretty cool. But there was a period there where we kind of lost touch and whatnot, and I didn't see him. The next time I saw my uncle after like 1992 or so was in 1998. And by 1998, I had discovered my new and still to this moment biggest mania, which is Scream. I was the biggest Scream fan, and Scream 1 and Scream 2 had just come out recently. Were two of my all-time favorite films, behind really only Aliens at that point. And so when he came, he hadn't seen that movie, or either of them, and Scream 2 was just hitting the new release at like Hollywood Video and Video Update and Blockbuster and stuff like that. Movie Gallery Video Update became. Anyway, Todd, I had Scream 1, so we had watched that, and he really liked it. And he's like, well, 2 came out, let's rent it. So we rented it, and I told this story on my podcast for Scream 2 at the very end of it, but I'll share it again here. Scream 2 was one of the most shocking movies for me, because never had a movie hit me before where somebody dies, and I felt it in a very personal, real way. When Randy, who is my favorite character, gets killed in that film, I was shook for a couple of days after seeing that. And when, even though I'd seen the movie 2 times in theaters, renting it and watching it with him, my uncle had his hand around me, so his hand was kind of near my heart, and he's we got to the scene where Randy's on the phone, and he's like, dude, your heart is racing, and he's like, I was like, yeah, and he didn't know it was coming. And then when Randy dies, he just kind of looked at me in absolute shock, understanding why my heart was racing and stuff like that. But that's a memory that I'll carry with me forever. As I traversed into middle school and then later high school, I got to be old enough where rather than him showing me movies that he liked that were inappropriate, I was showing him movies that I liked. And so he got into a place in his life where it wasn't really convenient for him to see movies theatrically. So what I would do is, after the movies would come out on DVD and stuff like that, I would go to Blockbuster and Hollywood Video, and after about 3 months on the new release rack, when they had the entire rack filled with new releases, and then they would just drop it down to 4 or 5 videos, they would sell all those old ones at super cheap prices. So I used to go and buy him the best new releases and send it to him. And so he and I would bond over the phone. At this point, he was living in San Francisco, where he remained until he passed. I would bond with him over the phone by sending him these movies, and I got him deeply invested in Lord of the Rings, especially Harry Potter. He was all about those Harry Potters. He was less into the superhero stuff. He liked Spiderman 1 and 2. I sent him Serenity. I got him into Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Degrassi, The Next Generation. And he and I, anytime he would visit, we would do marathon runs. Every single night we'd watch at least 2 movies, staying up until like 4 or 5 in the morning, and just trying to get through as much media as we could watch, because that's how he and I bonded. And then he was a big smoker, so in every like half hour or so we'd have to go pause the movie, go outside so that he could smoke on our patio. And he and I would just talk, and he, I think, also helped me refine film reflection and being able to discuss movies in an intellectual way. And so I have Todd to thank for that. This whole channel, in part, is because of conversations that I would have with him. The camera and my audience is the stand-in for what I would be saying or wanting to say to him in some strange way. So I thought that was kind of neat, and I really wanted to share that. The other important part of my life is he helped me craft how to tell a narrative. I always had ideas and aspirations of making movies and stuff like that, and I remember from high school onwards, freshman year, whenever he would visit, I would just spitball ideas at him, and one of them I turned into like feature-length screenplay. Another one I turned into a 500-page novel, ready to publish if ever I get back to editing it and whatnot, which maybe this is a motivating tool to do so. But all these ideas were the ones that I spitballed to him, and he really responded well to, and I'm like, oh, if he's interested, maybe the general public will be as well. But yeah, he was a person who loved movies, and he loved to share movies and talk movies and music, and he got me interested in people that I ought or would never have even heard of as like a teenage boy in the 90s, such as like Elaine Stritch and things like that. West Side Story, the original feature film, and Hollywood musicals and stuff like that. He and my mom, they were brother and sister, they really bonded over that kind of stuff. And so whenever he would visit, we would spend the early part of the evening with my mom watching something that the 3 of us could bond over. Sometimes my dad would be involved with that as well. And then when my mom would go to bed, Todd and I would watch the more genre stuff that my mom very much was not invested in. I just wanted to take this moment to pay my respects to a wonderful man, a beautiful soul. And Todd, thank you for gracing your life and spending it with me and sharing some of my most important moments together. So thank you, and thanks for watching, everybody. Let me know who was your movie buddy that you got to spend time with and you're glad about, even if they're still with us. Please let me know that in the commentary down below. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Peace.